Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Mary and today's video is going to be my September TBR. So usually I play my TBR game every month. It's Sorry Picks My TBR. I'll have a playlist linked in the description box or somewhere for you to watch if you're curious about how the game works. But this month I'm also participating in Becca'S month-long Bookopolothon, perhaps? So if you're not familiar with Becca in the books, I think she was like she wasn't the original TBR game, but she was my first TBR game that I saw, her Bookopoly, which is basically where she plays Bookopoly, which is like a Monopoly board. I don't know, I'll have her videos linked down below. I'm not going to be able to explain it very well, but she created a special board for this readathon, so I will actually be playing with that and inserting that footage. I don't have a printer, so I played it online and just screen recorded myself using a random number generator or a random dice pair, and then moving along the board that way. I did 5 rolls like she suggested, and that'll be the second part of this video, but for the first part, I did go ahead and play Sorry to pick my base books. I'm going to spoil it for you. I got 4 books again. If you watched last month, I also got 4 months then. But without further ado, I just am going to get into the card draws for Sorry. Okay, so this month I'm starting over here on yellow. And the first card is Move Forward 3. So a collection of essays. The first card I drew and spot I landed on was to read a book of essays. And for that, I'm going to be reading Letters from the Earth by Mark Twain. This is really short, as you can see. My version doesn't have numbers in it, like page numbers, but I would guess this is like 100 pages, maybe, if that, to be honest. This is a book of essays about, or rather, from the perspective of the devil, I believe, writing. They're either written to the devil or written by the devil. This is like, I think this was published after Mark Twain actually died, but it's supposed to be like one of his most like daunting works. I don't know. I read Huckleberry Finn in high school, but that's about my knowledge of Mark Twain. So I'm excited to read this. I think this is from Matt's book collection, and I'm not sure if he's read it or not, but it sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, it was written over a period of 40 years and published posthumously. But anyways, so this is the first book that I'm going to be reading this month, and luckily it's a short one, so shouldn't be too bad. If you don't already know, I guess I should have said, I'm a full-time law student, so I'm back in remote classes, but I am taking a full course load, so you read a lot in law school, so I'm hoping to get a lot read additionally, but we're just going to see how it goes. When I'm filming this, it's good Lord, it's August 26th. I started classes on Monday. It's Wednesday. So far it hasn't been too much of an issue, but also so far we're not really getting into anything yet. So I'm just going to see how it goes. And this is sort of my like play by ear month to see if I'm going to keep doing readathons in general, but also if I'm going to keep playing my game. It's a lot of housekeeping out of the way. Then the next card we have Move Forward 12. So contemporary. So for the second draw, I always say roll, but I draw cards. It doesn't matter. You saw. I got the prompt, a contemporary. And for this, I'm going to be reading the Jane Austen book club. I have this as an audiobook, so I'm pretty excited to get to listen to this one. This is an older book. I think it came out in 2004, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But there's a movie about it too that I've never seen, and I'm pretty excited to read this one. I think it's just about a group of women who are in a book club where they read classics, and I think it just sort of delves into their day-to-day lives, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know if there's any like allegory to anything in Jane Austen, like if their lives are similar to Jane Austen characters or how that's going to play out, but it's a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I just never got around to, so I'm excited to finally get to it. Next, we have Move Forward 7, Romance. And for the third draw, I got the category of a romance. And for this, I decided I'm going to be reading The Winner's Curse, which I have as an ebook on loan from my library. So it's the first book of a trilogy. It's by Maria Brzykowski. So in the book, The main character, Kestrel, is the daughter of a general, and she purchases Aaron, who is a slave, and I think she falls in love with him, but there's something about him having a dark past and her not realizing what she's getting into when she buys a fellow human. So I'm interested in how this world is going to take on slavery, because it sounds like in this world slavery is pretty normal and a regular thing, but I'm interested to read that. I've heard really good things about that series, so I'm pretty excited to get to that as well. And I think all 3 books are out, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, all 3 books are out. The last one was published in 2016, so we're good. And then move forward 11. Classic.
Move forward 3.
Move forward 2 is what I need. Move forward 2. So 3 books this month. Oh, 4. 4 books this month. The 4th and final draw for this game of Sorry, I landed on the Space Classic. And for that, I decided I'm going to read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Capote? Do you know? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But from what I understand, this is actually a true story or based on a true story. And it's about like some horrific crime. I don't really know anything about it except for that people who love true crime love it. And I'm fairly interested in true crime. I think like the psychology of serial killers and stuff is pretty interesting. And it's an interesting like human study topic. So I'm interested to read this one. And I believe I also have this one as it's either an ebook or an audiobook that I have on loan from my library. So I'm very excited to get to that. Now I'm going to move on to, in my opinion, the fun part of this video, which is the Becca'S Bookopolothon, whatever, my rolls for that. And I did 5 rolls, like I mentioned, because that's what she does every month. And I'm pretty excited about that. So let's go ahead and get into the first roll. For the first roll, I landed on the prompt of a translated work, and for that, I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna read Death's End by Cixin Liu, which is the 3rd and final book in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. This is a hard science fiction trilogy that deals with first contact with aliens and the human race's response to that, and I believe this is gonna be like the battle book. I'm not going to spoil what happens in the second book or what happens in the first book. That's all I'm really going to say about it. But I am super excited to finish the series. And I want to say I also have this available as an audiobook, which is really helpful to listen to while you read. But I do like to just at least read the first part of it because I found, especially with the first 2 books, it's very science heavy and very, not dense like writing wise, but it's a lot of like history, like Chinese history because it is translated from Chinese. And I'm not super familiar with Chinese history or frankly anything besides Western and European history. So that is a little bit of a barrier if you're not familiar with that. In the other books, there are footnotes that sort of explain any referenced people and characters from Chinese works that if you're in the Western world, you may not have read or be familiar with. Things like that, which are really helpful to making this more readable. And also because it's so science heavy, I find it easier to read, remember what things are, and then once I'm into it for a little bit, I can go ahead and listen to the audiobook. But yeah, I'm really excited to finish this trilogy out because I don't like to have a ton of series running at once. And I do tend to like to read a series kind of in succession or at least close to one another. So very excited for this. For my second roll for the Becca'S Bookopolython, I landed on a book with a light cover. And for this, is this cheating? You'll have to let me know. I chose The Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate, which is a book that was gifted to me actually by my partner's mom, and read this book and really liked it, so she sent it to us. And Matt has already read it, so I need to read it next. And I'm really excited about this one. It's about a woman. I think it follows 2 storylines. You'd think with the amount of times that I've talked about this and been like, I think this is what it's about, that I would have looked up what it was actually about. But to be honest with you, I kind of can't be bothered. I'll just find out when I read it. And I don't mind going into books blind, so If you want to know what it's about, I guess look it up. I'm pretty excited to get to read this one finally because I have been meaning to read this since June, but very excited to get this one checked off my list as well. For the third roll, I landed on the prompt poll pick, and I will insert my poll here. I took a screenshot of the results, and I did this poll on Instagram. As you can see, not very many people voted, but that's kind of to be expected. I don't have like a huge Instagram following. If you would like to be a part of polls and stuff like that in the future, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram. It's linked down below. I do post all of the books that I read with reviews in my stories. Every time I finish a book, I post a story giving my rating out of 10 and then like sort of how I felt about the book, and that's also in a pinned story on my page. I also have my Goodreads linked down below if you want to follow me over there. I do reviews on Goodreads, and I'm trying to get better about doing full reviews on Goodreads because for a while I was just doing them on my Instagram, but now I'm trying to do them on both. But all of that being said, that is how I picked which contemporary book I read this month. So that poll pick, the Jane Austen Book Club won that poll, which is why I decided to read it for my own, TBR. Wow. So for this, I am going to read the Jane Austen Book Club, which I already talked about. So, moving on. For the fourth roll, I got the prompt Own Voices, and for this I chose The Bride Test, which is it's the second book in like a series, but I think it's just that the characters are mentioned in the other books. Like, it's not gonna spoil anything, I don't think, if I read this. And from what I understand, this is just like a contemporary romance. So this is about, I believe, a Vietnamese man living in the United States, and I think he has autism or something. It says that he doesn't experience emotions or something, has no feelings while he feels irritation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think the premise is that he is either autistic or just like standoffish. It sounds like he's on the spectrum to me, and from what I understand, Helen Huang is on the spectrum as well. And so his mom it's probably a family friend or something, because it's not really a mail order bride, but she takes him back to Vietnam to meet this girl, and this woman is having to complete a series of tasks, not really like, but she just feels like she's being tested to become his wife. And so that's the premise of this book. That's all I really know about it, but I am excited to read this. I've heard really good things. This I got from Savers. It was a Book of the Month Club book. So I'm pretty excited to get to this one. And this is Own Voices because Helen Huang is on the autism spectrum, and I believe she writes about characters who are also on the ASD spectrum. So, well, ASD is autism spectrum disorder. Whatever. You know what I mean? Yes, but I'm very excited to get to this one. And the final roll was to read a YA fantasy, and for this I am going to be using The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm allowing myself to double up because I was hoping that my Sorry TBR would overlap on a lot of these, so I wouldn't have to read 9 books. And it overlapped on 2, so we're doing pretty good. I only have to read 7 books. Yeah, 7 books this month, which is a fair number. That's about half what I normally read. But again, like I said, with classes starting and all the reading I have to do for law school, I'm happy to have a more diluted reading month and a more chill month. And I can already tell I'm going to have East of Eden left over. I was supposed to read that for Tome Topple, and spoiler alert for my wrap-up, I did not finish it. So I'm going to probably be reading that next month as well, or at least the last 500 and so pages of it. I did not get very far at all. But that's it for today's video. So if you are doing the Becca'S Bookopolython, let me know down below. If you post a TBR video, I would love to watch it. So if you want to like link it or just say that you have it, that would be awesome. If you've read any of these books, as always, let me know how you enjoyed them. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend, and I hope you're gearing up to have a great week. And I will see you on Thursday. Bye!